Monroe gets a computer, and the whole family's excited except Luddite Henry. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And today, we're getting too close for comfort.
Yes, we are.
With Ted Knight.
Yes, not with each other.
No.
We're still at a nice,
acceptable
good
distance.
podcasting distance, as usual.
Yep.
Don't worry, everybody.
Nope.
All's good with us, but...
And then no one has moved into anyone's basement.
Correct.
Partly because neither of us has a basement. I mean, my building, no, they don't have a basement either.
No, there'd be maybe somebody could, hide in one of the storage areas for a while.
Yeah, that wouldn't last long.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of been my experience. Like in real life, storage areas are usually a lot different than they are on TV.
Yeah. The ones in my building, the doors it's like a cage.
Yeah.
You can see,
and they're partitioned.
If you could somehow get into my particular unit, you could hide behind all the stuff.
Right.
And maybe no one would see you, but then you might die there.
Yeah, that'd be no good.
But everything's, even the walls between units are cages.
Yeah.
There's no...
Whereas on the Bob Newhart show,
yeah,
when I was watching, they got stuck in there for a weekend. The better part of
July
over
4th,
a day,
yeah.
Yes.
And that was more like a barn or something.
This big open area where everybody can just dump their stuff, I guess.
Yeah, but that's not the situation with the Rushes. They're in an actual house.
Yes, they are.
And I don't know that they have a basement. I'm very confused about the layout of that house.
Yeah, that's not quite clear.
But Too Close for Comfort, of course, the Ted Knight sitcom from the early to mid 80s, originally aired on ABC, then became a syndicated show.
Yes, I'm always happy to get first-run syndication on the podcast.
And we have a first-run syndication episode, I think.
Yes, we do. Isn't our friend Maureen, wasn't she enamored with Too Close for Comfort
yes.
for some reason?
Yeah. I don't think she knows why.
Yeah.
And it's based on a British sitcom.
Yes.
Of some...
Keep It in the Family.
Of course, they live in flats.
Yeah. And I watched one episode of that.
Okay.
And it's quite different. It's very British. Uh-huh. Lori asked me, she's like, well, is this funnier? Or I was watching, I was like, well, it's more British. It's different. There's not as much physical comedy.
Okay. So it's that kind of Brit. It's not... Is it what category of Britcom would you put it in?
Well, let me see. It's not like an Are You Being Served?
Okay.
It's more like something like Rising Damp.
Damp. What a terrible title.
I think it's a pretty. I thought it was solid, like the episode I saw. But it's more like it relies on writing to get laughs.
Yeah.
One of the biggest changes I noticed was there was no Monroe equivalent.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
Right. No, Disraeli. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a prime minister he could be named after.
Yeah.
Disraeli Ficus.
Yeah. No, not in what I saw.
Okay.
Not in the one I saw. But, I'd be curious to see a little bit more of it. And this is one that I'd never seen before. I had to go kind of hunting for it online. It wasn't hard to find an episode, but it's not like, you see that one on PBS anywhere. And I think a lot of people would actually be surprised to know that Too Close for Comfort was adapted from a Britcom.
I don't think the credits mention it.
Oops.
Oops. Yeah.
Did they forget to mention? I think the one clue, I think it has a created by Brian Cook, and I think he's the one that created the original. So I guess they gave him the created by credit, but didn't say, whereas some of the shows we've talked about, they'll say in the credits, based on, Steptoe and Son or Till Death Do Us Part, some, that kind of stuff.
Of course, we haven't talked about one of those.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't talked Sanford and Son. No. Sorry. But point still stands.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's quite different. I think maybe they took the very basic premise, and the fact that the main character is a cartoonist.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't see much to it. It's very different. But they were relatively contemporary. I mean, I think Keeping the Family maybe started not too long before this one, I think. So they were more or less the same time. I think Keeping the Family maybe ended earlier.
Had 12 episodes.
Yeah. Right.
Too Close for Comfort had 100
129.
29,
which is amazing.
Yeah. It is.
It was on syndication a long time.
What,
it feels
at
like.
least one of those seasons is like 30 episodes or something, right? Or did they push some of those into the next?
That might have been what happened. Maybe the last season they pushed.
It's confusing.
Hey, I don't know the structure.
Yeah.
First run syndication. It's fascinating, but confusing and vexing sometimes as well.
Right. Yeah.
Those stations, they need programming all year.
That's right.
They can't just coast. If Solid Gold can go 52 weeks a year, why can't Too Close for Comfort?
And they always need new programming.
Yeah.
No reruns on UHF channels.
Absolutely not. It's got to be fresh new material.
That's right. If it's a daily cartoon, new episodes every 5 days.
Right. Although it is kind of funny now that you mention it. Like in like Saturday morning cartoons where you'd have like 13 episodes and then you just play them over and over again. It would be kind of funny if that was the way in first run syndication where they just do like 13 episodes and play those over and over again. I guess it seems like in some of the shows maybe they only did the 13 episodes but they just didn't play them over and over again. Maybe because they weren't any good. Like I don't think What a Country had really long seasons.
No.
But I don't remember there being a lot of reruns of those shows. I don't know. I have to think about that. Maybe it's just because they wouldn't be like advertised. You'd see like on an all new What a Country, but you wouldn't see on a classic What a Country. Followed by an all new She's the Sheriff.
Yakov Smirnoff raps.
Yeah. You're gonna give me the giggles thinking about that episode again.
And it appeared, from the very modest research I did, that the first 3 seasons didn't immediately go into syndication.
No.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Did they go into syndication with the new episodes, or were they showing up like somewhere else?
Well, actually, I think what happened is, so I think the first run, I think ABC tried it in like daytime, like mornings or something like that, in reruns. And then maybe that was kind of like the bridge. And then when they went into syndication, I think they were only showing the new episodes.
Yeah.
And then eventually, they just put them all together as one big package, I guess. I don't know.
How would you follow the story?
Well, I mean...
You'd never seen it on ABC, and suddenly you're starting on your local UHF channel?
Yeah. What they should have had was Ted Knight should have recorded like a brief intro. Like,
yes.
Welcome to our show. And just like explain what happened the last 3 seasons.
It's like his, when he was narrating cartoons. Superhero cartoons.
Yeah.
Meanwhile...
That would have been perfect. Just catch up in 2 minutes and you got everything.
The whole series should have that every time. Meanwhile, downstairs.
Yeah. That is a brilliant idea, Mike. I really wish they had done that. But yeah, and the thing is, if Ted Knight hadn't died rather suddenly, I don't know if it would have ended after the 6th season. It might have gone on, for more seasons.
I don't. I had a new premise, so why not?
Yeah.
Had a new name.
That's right. A new producer. They brought on. I was watching an interview on there was Academy interviews with Aaron Rubin, who had worked like on the Andy Griffith Show, went way back. And he didn't have a whole lot to say, but his thing when they kind of brought him in, and then Ted Knight dying was like a big shock to everybody because he just kind of said he was sick, and then like a week later, he was gone colon cancer, and I think he was like 58,
something like that.
Yeah. So, oof.
Yes. Sorry.
But, so it's hard to judge. Like, I don't know how successful it was in syndication. That's the thing. But I can assume that if they kept making episodes, and granted they were retooling it, and they did revamp the premise and call it the Ted Knight Show, but I mean it was still around.
Yeah.
I mean there was something there, and it seems like I don't know. I'd assume that it did fairly well.
Guess so. Yeah. How can you tell?
We have a lot.
It's like streaming.
We have a lot of unanswered questions about this show.
We
don't
do. Yeah.
Folks, if you're tuning in for the encyclopedic account of Too Close for Comfort, this is not that podcast.
No. I don't think I watched this at all, and yet things about it, like I knew the gist of it. Mm-hmm. Even as a kid, like I knew there was this guy Monroe, and he annoyed the old guy, and I knew the daughters lived downstairs, and watching them now, like something about the that rainbow stripe design in their apartment, just was like, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Why do I know all this stuff?
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I just saw commercials, or maybe it was on at someone else's house or something. But I know it's not something we were watching.
It's possible that like a syndicated show, and the reason like when we're talking about these, we're thinking about like the promos and stuff. They'd promo the heck out of them because they're ours. They're
like during He-Man or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Now in ABC, I must have seen a little bit of it on ABC because it was on like after shows. Like Three's Company was on after.
Uh-huh.
I think probably when I was real little, I watched a little bit of it then, and I probably watched a little bit of it in the 80s, but not really hardcore watcher. But it was one of those things like every now and then I check in an episode. You and I have talked about it occasionally over the years, but it would be like maybe just finding an episode on YouTube
Yeah.
And then relatively recently, I think within the last maybe year or two, is when it started hitting streaming, more or less complete form. Some syndication edits, I think, like on the DVDs. But so yeah, I was not like I can't say I was a big fan of the show. I watched it, but I was annoyed by it more. I like Ted Knight, but I didn't like Jim J. Bullock very much.
Yeah.
And the Monroe character annoyed me. Not as much as he annoyed Henry Rush, but he annoyed me enough to not really want to be a regular watcher of the show.
Yeah, and I know him more for Jim J. Bullock more from Hollywood Squares.
Yes, where it was Funny Man, Jim J. Bullock. He got the prestigious Funny Man label.
And his excellent appearance on Seinfeld as flight attendant.
Okay, yeah, I forgot all about that.
The episode where Elaine's stuck in coach.
Yeah. It is kind of, it's interesting that he sort of like took on, the Paul Lynde role there and had like a whole second career.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't real fond of the character.
Right.
And that's one thing we can get into. It pretty much becomes the Henry and Monroe show very early on. And I didn't like that change in direction, but somebody liked it.
Since I almost watched only exclusively those episodes, I don't know the biggest sense of it, but
that's funny.
I mean,
I was trying to kind of avoid those.
They can be pretty funny together.
Yeah, they can be, but I like it better as, well, yeah. Somebody decided, like, the show, the real comedy here is those two interacting together, and I understand that decision. But I found myself looking for some of the episodes that had a little bit more variety, had more of the daughters and some more of the original premise. Because to me, the appeal is Ted Knight.
Yeah.
Not so much, Jim J. Bullock, but I get why they went the direction they did. But they increasingly found ways to really force him in there, like, having him move in with them,
right.
and even in that sixth season...
move.
They totally changed the premise, and they changed the locale.
All right, and he's the only person who... Right, they move across the bay. I think that's across the bay.
Yeah.
To Marin, excuse me. And he buys into a newspaper.
Yes.
And
a weekly newspaper.
And Monroe goes with them and becomes his assistant.
Yeah. I mean, suddenly Monroe's like, oh, I've got a journalism and a communications degree,
What?
So he's not just doing gopher stuff, but he's like writing stories and everything and being a reporter kind of. And it's like...
And I only watched one episode of that, but it seemed like a number of the premises were Henry and Monroe investigate something, which, I mean, in the first iteration, I sort of enjoyed anything that was him and Monroe, or in one case, Mr. Wainwright, trying to solve a crime. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Going on stakeouts. And...
Right. But it's a little different when it's like for professional reasons.
Right, yeah. I don't know exactly what's going on in Marin that needs... No. George Lucas is up to no good.
Yeah, maybe.
I can understand your position.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a flaw in my decision in watching a lot of episodes like that is I don't have a strong enough sense of the daughters.
Well...
Especially Jackie.
Yeah.
I think the Sara character, I mean, she sort of starts out as a dumb blonde, but I don't think that doesn't seem to stick too long.
No, I think it becomes more maybe naive and maybe more playing on her youth than being the outright dumb blonde kind of archetype.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, I think that is what was did it. And let me give the show some credit. I think when it started, and it started in 1980, okay, and TV was a lot different in 1980 than it was in 1987 when the show ended. And at the time in 1980, and I said they followed like Three's Company at first, there was Jiggle Television, it was called, and everything, and I think this is part of that. And a lot of the humor was supposed to be innuendo, and a lot of it sort of like, like a Roper-Furley dynamic, only that the tenants are his daughters, and he kind of like jumps to conclusions and is worried about things like that. And they moved away from that quite possibly because the ratings went down, but also possibly because, that kind of TV was going out of favor, and they retooled it and, made it more Henry and Monroe. So that's probably a big part of it too, and de-emphasized the daughters. Now, I don't think the daughters are real crazy about it, especially Jackie. Jackie wound up leaving the show earlier than Sara did.
Yeah, and I mean, the first season, like the Sara in particular, they're dressing her in kind of ridiculous outfits,
right?
Especially like
hot
pants, and just her loungewear is hot pants.
Clearly emphasizing her physical nature, and Jackie the brunette is kind of like the buttoned up one, literally the serious one, the smart one.
And she's already out of college and working at a bank or something, but then becomes a fashion designer. Yes,
and she had like this whole arc where she gets married and everything, and kind of has the serious relationships. And I don't know really a lot what went on with her character, but it seems like I get the feeling they didn't have a whole lot to do with her at some point. Really, if it's not the two daughters, the contrast with the dad, then I don't think they had as much to do there.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried. I know in some episodes it wasn't like they totally ignored them. But
Right, but even by the third season, they were, and maybe Nancy DeSalt, I don't know if she was actually pregnant, but
yeah, well,
they worked a baby into it.
Okay, that's another thing, is just talking about revamps. So after the first season, the second season, they make Muriel,
Yeah.
and make her pregnant.
That's right. And it's the whole season.
Yeah, they stretch that out the whole season, and then into the third, because then she's having, Andrew.
Right.
And it's like, already they figured they needed, and the show was successful at that point.
Yeah.
So it's like they figured they need to revamp it. And in the second season, mind you, they bring in April, Henry's niece.
Yeah.
And she's like a regular character throughout most of the second season, and I really did not like her character.
Yeah, the little I saw of her.
Yeah, it intended to be like a free spirit.
Yeah.
But really just didn't bring much to the table. So they make these two changes. They're bringing like a pregnancy and like this entirely new character already in the second season. It's like, we're already tired of the basic premise of the show.
Right. And then the third season, they get rid of her, but they had the baby and Audrey Meadows as the battle axe mother-in-law.
Yes. Now, Audrey Meadows, I'm never going to say a bad word about Audrey Meadows. She's great.
And certainly, if anyone can be a foil to a blowhard,
yes,
it's Audrey Meadows.
That's right. And she's actually really good. I mean, she does that thing again where she really, with me, that mother-in-law, that heel heat sometimes is really too much, and it sometimes is more like go away heat. But she does a very good job of clashing with Henry. But it's a little bit awkward, though, because the age difference between Henry and Muriel, to me, is accentuated when Henry's dealing with his mother-in-law.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, somebody else.
Right.
Like a
they're
friend or something.
supposed to be about 10 years
I think that's
apart.
what it is.
He's playing a little younger.
Yes.
It's really disconcerting when he's saying he's my age.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I usually don't care about that too much, but
yeah, it just, I don't know. It was a little. There's something about the dynamic doesn't work as well to me in that case, and they really made Iris, I guess, right, the mother-in-law. They made her like really a strong regular for a lot of it too, or at least a strong recurring character. But yeah, they're just always tinkering with it.
Well, and you mentioned go away heat. I mean, technically Henry's the one with he's the heel of the show.
Yes. Why is it I find myself identifying with Henry?
I know.
Think about it. Well, I mean, Iris is not fair to him. I mean, Iris always puts him down right from the get-go.
But leaving her out of it, I mean, he's quite often in the wrong. And
yes.
As we'll see in the episode we talk about, just his initial reaction to things is almost always a knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
I know the 2B description describes him as conservative, but I think they mean that in the more general sense.
Yeah, it's like a generation gap kind of thing. Is what it's supposed to be like. He's old and kind of like fuddy-duddy and just needs to get with the times more, whereas the daughters are kind of like the next generation, and Muriel's sort of in between.
Right. Yeah, she's
like sensible enough.
She would have been like in the 60s.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas he was already an adult.
Yeah. So he's more just before that.
Yeah.
That the flower child era and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
And I haven't seen them play that difference up a lot. It's more just like my perception, I guess. Although there was one episode where they were really kind of explicit about their ages that I saw. It just kind of confirmed exactly what you said. Like he's playing slightly younger, and she's like supposed to be like late 30s or something, mid to late 30s.
I think 40. I think because I
so
remember them saying 42.
Okay, 42.
Although I mean that seems a little late to have
a
baby in the 80s even, but I guess it's a surprise. I didn't watch.
Okay.
Really, any episodes dealing with the pregnancy.
Right.
But I think because there's when that Wainwright, I mean, there's another character they brought on for the first season. I don't know if he comes back, but the eccentric owner, he buys the publishing company, and Henry's worried that he's going to get, because of his age, he's going to get the boot, which brings up his whole career, which I always thought he was a newspaper cartoonist, but apparently he's doing some sort of kids comic book, which I don't know if it's the whole, like Cosmic Cow is its own comic, or it's in a collection of kids comics, which seems more British.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of American things, and I'm trying to think of what would have been to give them any credit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there were still Mickey Mouse, like Disney comics, and licensed
Gold Key, Whitman and Gold Key.
Yeah, but there weren't a lot of original kids explicit, that kind of like funny animal.
Right.
Like he's a Cosmic Cow, he, she, whatever. It's a cow. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a she too.
She, is a is a superhero, but it's still clearly meant to be a comedic sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So that I was a little disappointed. I wanted him to be a newspaper.
Yeah. I thought the exact same thing until we started, watching it for the podcast here. I was like very surprised. And also, yes, they weren't really clear about what the arrangement was. Wainwright, I think I've heard a lot of references to him, but I don't know how often he shows up as a character, but I think he's maybe most of it off-screen presence.
He did. There are definitely a couple episodes in the first season, one involving a lion.
Yeah. Oh, with him and Monroe and
that actually. The premise being there's Monroe and Sara know some guy from college who's in film school and wants to film part of his movie there in the downstairs apartment. And they're having a dinner party with Wainwright so Muriel can get a job. Mm-hmm. And it turns out this student film has all these animals. There's a lion and Monroe's leading the lion around by a chain. But the absolute best moment was Henry's in the bathroom shaving and there's a window, he's in profile and a giraffe walks by. He does a double take. And then I think, giraffe.
That sounds good.
And Wainwright goes into the kitchen, of course, and we don't see any of it, of course. Uh-huh. But he tames the lion.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Wow.
Because
he's a formidable.
He's a
individual.
Weird. And then the one where Henry meets him, they end up going on a stakeout to find Jackie's missing purse, or Sarah's missing purse. And I forgot the guy's name. It's a familiar act, the funny name.
I do think that, actually, the episode that I watched has the Henry character sort of posing as a policeman to try to find who stole, I think one of the daughter's
that's
handbags, which is, that's kind of funny that they took the premise and everything. In the ABC years, I think they tried to use college as a setting for more like experiences and to get Henry interacting with younger people and as an excuse for some of these wilder plot lines. And, that was just, I guess was more prominent during those early ABC years.
Hamilton Camp,
yeah.
And lest we forget Selma Diamond's recurring character.
Mildred Rafkin.
Yeah. Yeah. The sister of the transvestite who lived in the base apartment before the girls.
Yeah, and didn't they killed him off pretty early, right? I mean, was it in the first season even that they...
I assume he died right away so the girls could move in there.
Oh, okay, that's right. But they brought her on to replace him. Okay.
So I don't know. I didn't watch the pilot, so I don't know if he was in anything.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
How they? But it seems like that's the kind of thing that they would turn into like a big bit.
They certainly made a lot of jokes about his life. But yeah, she kept coming back to haunt them.
I guess they had some neighbor characters like Herb and Marcia. In like one season, I think they were. Like Warren Berlinger and I forget the actress, but I don't know.
It seems like they never settled on an idea.
It's kind of like Rhoda.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, with all these like different changes and things. Maybe not quite that radical, but for what is essentially a very basic show.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of money being spent, especially as they go into syndication, of course.
No.
There's not a lot of variety in the sets, and most of the action takes place at their house.
Yeah. Not a lot of guest stars.
No, they don't go to the old big name star gimmick. They don't use that very often, I don't think.
I mean, as far as I know, the only celebrity cameo is Jim Davis, creator of Garfield the Cat.
I didn't watch that episode.
Oh, it's fun.
Did Jim Davis ask him, hey, so what's the deal here, Henry, with your comic book and the distribution? I've got a lot of questions.
No, because it was a newspaper.
Oh, it's the sixth season.
Yeah, Henry,
when
he goes to some convention and manages to convince Jim Davis to let them run Garfield in the newspaper.
Wow.
Because it's a small paper and that.
But it's like a weekly paper, so I guess they're just going to run the whole week of Garfield.
I don't know. Yeah, they don't. Well, it turns out the Mrs. Stinson, I think her name is. She's never had comics in there and she doesn't want them.
Ah.
But then, as part of the promotion, they sent all this. They sent toys and stuff, and they sent a giant, Garfield costume that, of course, Monroe has to wear. Oh. And he's walking around town and then comes in, and it gives her such a laugh that it convinces her to do a little research. And she comes over. Jim Davis is there, and Henry's like trying to work up the nerve to tell him that it's not going to work out. Mm. And then she comes over, and it turns out it is, but he won't let her. Classic Henry. Ah. She starts it, and he'll just interrupt and like, yep, there it is. Yeah. I was going to tell you. And she's like, would you let me talk? So she realized that there's something to having a little joy in the paper as well.
And then she starts remembering strips of her youth, like the Cats and Jammer kids.
That's right.
Let's bring them back, too. Yes, played by the irrepressible Pat Carroll. Uh-huh. And so the sixth season, she's Henry's foil.
Yeah, but she seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, well, the first episode I watched, it looks like they're going to be oil and water and all that. But then by the second episode, they're like, well, he doesn't necessarily like having a boss, but they get along. They're reasonable.
Right.
Monroe, they both think Monroe's crazy.
Yeah. Well, he's something.
Yeah, and throughout it all, Nancy Dussault.
Yeah.
They do a lot of things with her too. She becomes like they emphasize her photography more and her wanting to have a career, and so she's never like a really in the background.
No.
But they don't. It's Ted Knight's show, and the show has its moments. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll say that now. But there's a lot of Ted Knight's reactions are great, and when Ted Knight has a chance to be funny, he delivers.
Yeah, and every now and then there's a mild little bit of drama, and he does okay with that too.
Mm-hmm. He's a pro.
He can work his eyebrows like nobody else. That whole section of his head, just
that's right.
One eyebrow, two eyebrows going up and down with each word.
Yes, and he's got his own, as you mentioned earlier, his own stammer.
Yes.
Is not the same as the Bob Newhart stammer, but the Ted Knight stammer is often used to great effect.
Did he do? I don't remember him doing that on Mary
Tyler Moore. No, I don't think he did. I think.
But I watched some little clip from clearly it filmed it like a DVD release thing for one of the first season or something, and it was the two girls and Jim J. Bullock kind of just reminiscing, goofing off, and one of them. Like it did the stammer, but talking about him in real life. Like there was they were talking about it, that Jim J. Bullock wasn't out then, and Lydia Cornell said she didn't know until after the show, but he did for some reason come to a table reading in a wedding dress once.
Huh.
Then, whoa. Also, Jim J. Bullock, not a fan of the theme song.
Really? What about you?
Because it was like playing in the background. And at first he didn't recognize it. Like, what are the Love Boat people coming? Is Three's Company? And he's like, oh, it's that terrible theme song.
Huh.
And Lydia Cornell was like, oh, Johnny Mandel was a genius. Is that the name?
Yeah.
Or something. He's like, it sucked.
Wow. I don't know. It's kind of, it's very mellow.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, they keep changing that too.
Yeah. Especially
the last season, they really 80s it up.
Yeah, they do.
Some Phil Collins drums. And
yeah.
Sometimes I skipped it, sometimes I didn't.
It's distinctive.
Yeah.
And they try to give you the San Francisco flavor.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that starts out like kind of eases you in, and it's sort of like it's a little faux urgency as the song goes on. Like it's not really an urgent type
crescendos in that clip of Ted Knight falling backwards over the couch.
Yeah, and then him coming up with a look in his face. That's the classic, Ted Knight at his zaniest.
Yeah.
And again, he was, granted, he was younger in 1980 than he was like in 86 or 87, but the physical comedy was something they seemed to rely on, like pratfalls and stuff in the first season though. So, I think they got away from that. Like Ted Knight didn't need to be doing that all the time.
It wasn't dignified.
No.
Let Monroe do that.
Yes. And his physical comedy would be, just having a cow in his
That's right. A cow puppet.
Yeah, in his arm and making jokes about that.
One more thing I want to bring up before we move on to the episode is that the third season, which is right before they get canceled, ends with 2 backdoor pilots. 2.
Amazing. Yeah, I didn't know this until you told me
No,
about this.
I started watching the last episode. I thought, they're going to remodel the attic so Iris can live there, which then doesn't happen. But Monroe moves in, I guess, in the 4th season. And I thought, I hadn't seen one with her in it, and I thought she'd be in it. She wasn't. But then it cut to this scene, and it was like Lainey Kazan and Jimmy Bayo and this other guy, and it was on a set I'd never seen. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'd ever seen them, maybe once or twice leave the house, and they just kept going on, and like it's a construction company, and they're the deceased dad, built up, and the 2 sons are idiots. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't have time for backdoor pilots right now. I got other episodes to watch.
I believe that there was, you think there ought to be a law, and I think until the Reagan deregulation in the 80s, there was a law about unadvertised backdoor pilots that they would just sneak on you.
Right.
Sneak in there on you without warning.
And
to do it twice in a row.
Yeah, the other one involves some friend of another one of his Navy buddies, I think, who has a marina and marries a younger woman. I think in the episode, Henry talks him out of marrying her, but I guess in the show, they would have gotten married. Like a much, like 20s. Okay. The age of Henry's daughters.
Yeah. Right.
I don't remember who was in that, though.
Well, I'm going to have to check those out just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, the one thing is like, at the time, that's really weird to have that thrown at you. But now, and I guess it is weird when you're preparing to do a podcast about Too Close for Comfort.
Right.
But it's kind of cool, like, because you can see, like, in good quality, you can see, like, an actual sort of essentially a failed pilot.
Yeah.
You know, it's especially funny, like, in context of, like, oh, it's the end of the season of, like, a real show. So, yeah, how did they get away with that? I mean, I wonder if they did it, they just knew, like, ABC wasn't bringing them back. And
I don't think so. Why would you do that if
yeah, I don't...
you were get it canceled?
Yeah.
It's not like they have confidence in you. Like, well, okay, you don't want this show. How about one with
Right.
with Lainey Kazan and Jimmy Baio?
Yeah.
Instead of a frustrated dad and two daughters, that's a frustrated mom and two idiot kids.
Yeah. They had that one in their back pocket, you know,
Yeah.
just in case. Finally, they had to play that card.
Right.
But, yes, alas, ABC did not want to retain them, so they went into syndication.
That's right.
Extended the show, and it's you know, Nancy Dussault had had a big theater career and did all kinds of things. Was one of the original hosts of Good Morning America. Yeah, I mean, just in the 70s, she had a whole life before Too Close for Comfort, and I remember her being. I think she showed up in a lot of game shows in the 80s too, and things like that. So she was.
I'm sure all of these people were on Love Boat.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I know I saw a clip in my YouTube feed of Lydia Cornell on Love Boat. I didn't watch it, but
yeah, she's like a classic Love Boat guest.
Yes.
Right there. You could totally imagine all kinds of storylines there. But yeah, pretty sure Nancy just. I don't know. Was Ted Knight on the Love Boat? I don't remember.
wait, yes, I did. Wait, didn't I think I read that he played like another captain?
Oh yeah. I think he did.
And I laughed at that and totally forgetting the connection
Yeah.
to Gavin McLeod. I just thought it was a funny idea.
Yeah. Well. Should we get into this particular episode of Too Close for Comfort?
Yes.
All right. It did air in syndication, so this isn't 100% a certainty, but we can surmise that this episode premiered on a Saturday, which is when most first-run syndicated comedies did.
It's 7 o'clock.
Yes, probably
No.
right before. So I do have the prime time lineup for this night in July 1984. But before I do that,
Yeah, that's interesting too.
yeah.
They were probably running a little off kilter from the regular season.
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
But I do want to mention, because we've kind of alluded to it, just a word about the ratings of the show. So the first season, it was 15th overall, and the second season, it was 6th. Both seasons, it was on ABC at 9:30 after Three's Company. Okay, that's a good place to be, ABC.
Yeah.
And those. So what did they do? After season 2, they moved it to Thursday night, and it fell to 38th in the ratings.
Oops.
So it was up against Magnum P.I., Simon & Simon, and Knots Landing, which we've talked about was, you know, a big lineup. And on NBC had Fame, Cheers, and Taxi, you know, kind of in that 8 to 10 window. So they went from being after Three's Company to being after Condo with McLean Stevenson. Say no more, right?
Yep.
In 1980, you know, in the 80s. Amanda's, which was B. Arthur's ill-fated reworking of Faulty Towers.
Okay.
And before, It Takes Two, which I think was Patty Duke and... Oh, I can't remember. Patty Duke and...
John Aston?
No, not Patty Duke and John Aston. Well, it didn't last very long.
Okay.
To begin. So I don't know if they thought it would like anchor the night that or I guess that's exactly what they thought. They could go after, you know, with some comedy and go after this CBS lineup, but you know the ratings went way down and that was it for ABC.
With memorable faces, memorable middle-aged faces.
Yes. yeah. Familiar stars on ABC. So on this Saturday night, and it was mostly reruns. ABC had T.J. Hooker, The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, all reruns. NBC had Different Strokes, Silver Spoons, People Are Funny. But you know what wasn't a rerun at 10 o'clock? The Rousters.
Oh.
So they had a new episode of The Rousters there. And CBS had a new episode of Mama Malone. Sitcom that didn't last very long. And at 8:30, Chariots of Fire. I don't think it was I don't know if it was the network premiere. It probably wasn't, but it was a special CBS presentation of the award-winning movie, very prestigious, heartfelt movie about the human condition, which of course I never saw.
Yeah.
But
we all know the music.
Yes.
Seems like that movie might have taken 2 nights to air, even starting at 8:30.
Yeah, they might have cut it way down.
Yeah.
You know,
Less running.
Maybe they sped up the slow motion running scenes
to normal speed.
Yeah. They actually had to put like filler at the end.
Richard Crenna, by the way.
Richard Crenna, yes, thank you. No relation.
No.
I knew it was a Richard. But yes. So, anyways, that's what was going. So we're, and I guess, kind of before the Olympics, after, you know, most of the networks had their season, but So in this July 1984 setting, you get a new episode of Too Close for Comfort.
Yes.
On your local station.
That's right. Called Goodbye, Mr. Chip.
Yes.
From season 4.
Yeah, season 4, the 14th episode of season 4. Yeah.
No guest stars in this episode. No, there's one.
There's one.
One and one who doesn't have any lines.
Yes, one in the credits, and I'll have something to say about him when we get there.
I don't know anything about these people, but I like their names. Written by Barry Blitzer and directed by Lee Lockhead.
That's a great name.
Yes. Both of those, both pseudonyms for Stan Lee. I don't know. So it opens. Henry and Muriel are both sitting on the couch. They're both reading books. She is reading a romance novel that she says is a real scorcher. And he's reading some sort of Henry Kissinger book and thinks she shouldn't be reading trash like that. And then the girls and Monroe arrive. So Sarah and Jackie. She mentioned Jackie, played by Deborah Van Valkenburg. Also a good name.
Yes, very good.
Who seems like maybe she left because she didn't, like, almost all her roles after this are dramatic. Maybe that was her real interest.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing like anything of her after.
No, I mean they're all guest roles,
Okay.
but and Lydia Cornell does stand up and was briefly on an episode of Curb. And anyway, they come in and they're carrying a couple boxes. And Monroe, a friend of his, is going to Europe for a year, I think, and has loaned him his computer.
Yeah, take care of it for him.
Yeah, so Monroe's carrying a huge box, and I think Sarah's carrying a smaller box. And Henry immediately, he doesn't want it in the house. Monroe has too much junk already.
Yeah.
We don't need that computer, and this and that. And at some point he goes on, honestly, a very prescient rant about essentially screen time.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
You need to learn from experience, not just looking at a computer and all this.
But he is like instantly right against the idea, not just of Monroe bringing these giant boxes for whatever is in there, but when he finds out it's a computer, it's like worse.
Yeah, although some of it might just be because it's Monroe. Whatever it is, it's going to end up a mess.
Quite possibly, yes.
He doesn't say that, but and he's like, it's too big. Look at that box or something. And Sarah opens up her box and just pulls out a keyboard and is like, no, this is the computer. And and Monroe's box has all the manuals in it, which appear to be legal texts from the 1800s or something.
But a nice little.
But there's no monitor
about the length of the instruction manual.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, the computer is
right. That's what I assumed he was carrying.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the big disappointments for me of the episode is that you don't see more of this computer.
You
setup.
never see it.
Yeah. You never see him typing in a computer, which I really desperately wanted.
Yes.
I wanted him and Henry huddled around.
Yeah.
Henry with the reading glasses on, and Monroe like hunting and pecking.
I get the impression that possibly the people who made this episode knew absolutely nothing about computers.
I think you're right. When I saw this description, I kind of was hoping that this would be like real early 80s. And there's some of that talk of computers, but there wasn't as much 80s computerized goodness as I thought there would be. And I think you've hit on it. I think you're probably right. Barry Blitzer didn't know his way around a computer.
I read an article in the paper. There's these things called computers.
Yeah.
They're taking one day. Everyone's going to have one.
Yeah.
What if and you can do simple math on them? What?
Is that how they broke stories? They have a bunch of guys sitting around and getting Ted Knight's approval.
Yeah.
Nervously.
Oh yeah. What am I going to do in that episode? Well, we'll figure out something. You don't like computers? No, I don't. No.
Yes, as an actor, you can respond to that.
Yeah.
Yes, there might be something there, And he goes off into the another room to practice while.
Yes. A lot of the things
computer
were like
outrage.
A lot of the pitches. You don't like blank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Monroe brings this into the house, and you have to deal with it. Yes. Now that you mention it, I can work with that.
Yes.
And then they fill in the details,
right.
keyboard and instructions and that sort of thing. That writes itself.
Yeah. And I do like Muriel and the girls mostly are kind of practical people, more or less. They also know they know the right buttons to push with Henry.
Yes.
In this case, they appeal to his cheapness. I said, well, it's a great way to try one out for free.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, okay. So he relents, and they go upstairs to hook it up. And Henry says, I hope the boy genius knows what he's doing. And Muriel, for some reason, says, he's really adept with electronics. And then the lights go out.
Yeah.
After Monroe announces he's hooked it up.
Right.
So the next morning, it's breakfast, and Henry's eating some eggs and toast, coffee, and Monroe comes down. At this point, he has a security job at the mall, right?
I think he's
security
a mall
guard.
Security, yeah.
He comes down, and Muriel offers him breakfast, and he's got papers with him, and she offers him to make him breakfast, and he's, I don't want to put you out to any bother, and then she's like, oh, it's fine, and he's like, okay, I'll just have what he's having, and then changes everything in the order.
Now, I did like this.
Yeah.
This is like the best of these two interacting because of like just the timing of it, because like he does it, they do it, I think they do it in the rule of 3 too. He changes the eggs.
Right.
He asks for a muffin instead of toast.
Yeah.
And then when he starts the drink, Henry just, get out.
Yeah. And the topper of that is someone in the audience repeated, get out.
I missed that. I was probably laughing too hard at Henry's reaction. That's great. But yeah, I just love the way he just cut him off like right away, and that was really funny.
Yeah. But Monroe has these printouts, and those are, it is on that old kind of the computer paper with the white and the green.
Yeah, that was good to see.
Yeah. And my dad used to bring that home from one of his jobs for us to draw on.
Yeah. Good scrap paper.
Yeah. Anyway, he fed all this info into the computer and got these great stock tips. Mm-hmm. And especially this biomedical company of some kind. And his broker even agrees, and of course Henry doesn't believe a computer could figure out, and he just doesn't seem to believe in the stock market in general. It's a sucker's game and all that. But then Monroe calls the stockbroker, and the stock is already up from $350 to $375 a share. And while he's talking there, the camera's focused on Henry. Henry's changing reactions.
Yeah.
Eyebrows going up. So Monroe's going to buy 100 shares, and he wants 200. And so they order it, and of course he's going to have to send in a check and paperwork and stuff. So it does make the rest of the scene a little strange.
That's right.
But it's a sitcom, and Monroe's like, he says, it's sure to go through the roof, and Henry says, well, if it doesn't, you will.
Yeah.
And Monroe also has the stats on Muriel's household spending that he's put in, and apparently she spent $2 million in the past month. Mm. And he rattles off all like $350,000 on food and this and that, and he's, well, I use the same program for the stock thing, and Henry panics, and he has to call the broker back and sell Henry's stocks. Yeah. Which technically he hasn't bought yet.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And this does lead to another good moment, because I like how when Monroe's on the phone, Henry's just standing over him, like glaring at him the whole time, just with this real angry look, and that was pretty funny too. And I want to say one thing about this scene. I just want to point out Muriel's blue jeans. I don't know why they stood out, but I can't tell if they're like really fancy designer jeans or if they're like early mom jeans. Maybe both.
Maybe.
I think they were kind of hip 1980s designer jeans, though. Okay. So just wanted to point that out. Yeah. Give Muriel some credit there.
But high-waisted. But they were all high-waisted.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
As long as they didn't have elastic.
I don't know about that.
And the last thing, and Henry's, well, what did he say? What did the broker say? And Monroe says he said to who? Who does, to sell them to.
Oh, yeah.
And then Henry does something, and Monroe runs out of the house. Yeah. So the next scene, Henry's walking by the downstairs apartment where the girls live, and he hears the radio on, and so he goes in, and they're trying to listen to the horse race results, because Monroe made a bet for them based on more information he put into the computer. And again, Henry's against all this. He keeps turning the radio off. And, you shouldn't be gambling. And, they say, but it's a sure thing. And the only sure thing is that Monroe's an idiot. Yeah. They only bet $20 total, $10 each, right?
Yeah, they have a pretty lax attitude about gambling. So what? It's not like we're losing much anyway.
Right. It's just for fun. Meanwhile, Henry, again, logic aside, somehow lost $300 on the stock market while Monroe made a killing. Yeah. He got out too soon. And then he arrives, and Henry's telling him the computer it's not designed for gambling. And then it turns out each of the girls won $237.
And so, Henry's eyes bug out when he sees Monroe counting. And he's actually got the money right there. And in large and small bills, I guess.
Yeah.
And I actually just thought of something. You kind of doing the recap of the stock fiasco was, it wasn't just the computer. Monroe called a stockbroker, and the stockbroker had said stockbroker, has his own interest, but he recommended the purchase. It wasn't just, just totally random stocks being spit out.
Exactly.
There's a process involved.
He's probably using a computer too.
Yeah, that's right. Monroe followed like a process.
Yeah.
Whereas Henry was just totally acting on impulse.
Yes.
So as you mentioned, yes, in this episode, he's totally the buffoon.
Yeah. In the next scene, Henry's taking a peek at Muriel's romance book. And he says to himself, it is a scorcher. And then Muriel comes up and she's got money from the girls for next month's rent. But then she also wants to go shopping and wants $100.
Yeah.
I like, just the look on her face was really funny.
Yeah. What I like is that Henry apparently has, and they're not totally, I guess they're slacks or something, but he has apparently $100 cash and more. He's got like a big bankroll in his pocket of cash, and he just literally gives her bills from his pocket.
Well, she had just given him. She had given him the rent money.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So he takes.
So I think it's the
that's
same.
Right. Okay.
But I still imagine that he does.
Right. I think it's
big cartoonist money.
I mean, the whole thing that they're paying each other in cash anyway. I mean,
yeah.
Aren't the girls good for a check?
I think so. One of them used to work at a bank.
Does Henry prefer it in cash?
Don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Maybe.
I think you hit on it there, yeah.
So she leaves and Monroe comes down and he apologizes. This is a more savvy Monroe than we're used to seeing, I think. Because he acts all contrite, but then he's like, boy, I really wish I could have learned this lesson tomorrow instead of today.
Yeah.
Because, I fed some information in the computer, and there's a horse that's a 30-1 odds running in the race today, and he's a sure thing. His name's Lucky 49er, and Henry's listening to all this.
Yeah.
You can see his mind changing.
Yes. to be the fashion correspondent again, Monroe's got quite a shirt on in this scene, too.
Oh,
it's like multicolored, kind of striped, almost like a lifesaver type thing.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of reminiscent of Robin Williams and Mork and Mindy or something.
Yeah.
Suspenders and stuff.
He does wear a lot of striped shirts.
Yeah.
But yeah.
This one's,
yeah.
It adds a little pop to the scene. So.
And Henry ends up having a change of heart. And he's going to bet on it. And, and then Monroe's like, reveals, and this is why I'm saying he was a little more savvy, that Muriel and the girls are already betting on it.
Yeah.
Again, not a lot of money, but they are betting it.
This is where they could have had a scene of those two, him showing him on the computer would have been a good, they could have added something there. This would have been the opportunity to get the computer in here.
And then the next scene is Henry excitedly pacing about, waiting. And Monroe comes in, and he's got a boombox, and he's got the bet tickets, and, not many people have bet on him. So they sit down, they go in the bedroom and turn on the boombox. And I just, something about it, just the idea of like, we're going to watch them listen to a horse race.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, this is going to be fun.
Right. And, which is totally ridiculous, the idea of horse racing being on the radio.
Right.
In 1984.
Yeah.
It's just some random local race, at the track,
Maybe in California, I don't know.
Well, could be. Let's say, but yeah, and they think, and what I also kind of like the sort of like enhanced jocularity between these two, because they're like, like they're in on it together,
right? Yeah,
because they're talking about how not everybody's making these, and Henry gives him like a big exaggerated wink. Not everyone has a computer, and just like the fact that they're in on it together, like I do kind of enjoy those moments where they're sort of conspiring together, and they enjoy that. Yeah.
The announcer says that Lucky 49er is a long shot, and has his little trouble at the gate. But then the race starts, and Lucky 49er shoots out way ahead of everyone. Of course he is, and they're really excited and everything. And then he falls, and the announcer keeps talking about the jockey getting up and stuff. And Henry's like, "To hell with the jockey." What about Lucky 49er? And then there's a gunshot.
Okay. I laughed out loud at the gunshot.
It's so horrible.
I was not expecting that. And Henry's reactions,
God, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing is funny. I think at one point they do like the Larry and Balky from Perfect Strangers like thing where they
jumping up and
embrace
down.
and jump up and down together, with such glee. And then, boy, it all goes as bad as it could.
So then it's later, and the Muriel and Sara and Jackie they're sitting at the table, each eating their individual pints of ice cream out of sadness, I guess. And, Henry's sort of lecturing them.
Yes.
Although it's clear they know he lost some money.
I'm actually impressed in this that he does admit, like he's reluctant to say how much money, but he admits that I made a mistake too, you know. So he's not.
And they, you know, of course, they didn't lose much, but I think they keep asking, like, what do you? Maybe Muriel's like a load.
Yeah,
she dropped a load.
He's like, that's unimportant.
Yeah. But Monroe comes down and he's removed all the gambling software.
Yes. He deprogrammed the computer. Yes. I love that he says he deprogrammed it of all sports and gambling
and changed it to tap into a weather satellite. I'm like,
of course.
This is showing my lack of. I know there were ways to connect before the internet as we know it. There were ways to connect to things. Obviously, hackers, like in war games, somehow had to connect to things. But it wasn't like everyday computers were doing that, as far as I know. But he did. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then the doorbell rings, and there are two FBI agents, and they have information that there's an illegal computer operation going on in this house.
Whoa.
To which Henry immediately rats out Monroe.
Yeah.
And they say that the computer might be hooked into the air traffic control computers of the airport. And Muriel asks Monroe if he could have done that, and he starts to explain how he doesn't see how it's possible.
Yeah, because he only hooked this one cord to that cord, and then that's hooked it.
And then it gets drowned out by the sound of an airplane flying over the house.
And they all kind of look up.
And he just keeps talking. I didn't expect that either.
Yeah, that was a good gag.
Yeah. And then the last little tag, Henry and Muriel are in bed, and they've switched books. So Henry's reading The Scorcher and makes a lot of innuendo, and she's reading the Kissinger book and talking about how we made some mistakes in Southeast Asia. And then they turn off the lights, and they're going to try some things. And Henry's like, eat your heart out, Henry Kissinger.
Yeah. Yeah, she says something like, why don't we call it a night? And he's like, why don't we call it a night to remember, sweetheart? I don't know what he's exactly trying to do. No, he's Clark Gable, I think, is what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It almost looks like he's going for Bogart, but I think it's Clark Gable, really.
And there you bring about it. Sometimes his delivery seems kind of Cagney.
Yeah, that's a good call, definitely. One thing about that is, especially in the earlier episodes, I didn't find a lot where that's almost like a genuine B plot. Mm-hmm. And also, I think was one of the episodes, I think it's a little bit shorter than probably originally aired. Mm. We might be missing a minute or two of these, and probably a lot of these.
So they made a syndicated cut to the syndicated episode. Interesting.
Well, that's possible. So this is the fourth season, so it's possible some of those were just shorter to begin with. But like in the earlier episodes, I didn't see a lot of it was usually just like the main thing, and it's quite possible that we're missing stuff. That's the stuff they would cut out.
Right. Yeah.
So this is just a nice little thing.
It was a good running gag. About this book.
I want to back up to the two FBI guys.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, the one agent credited, the other guy that didn't get a speaking line not credited.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, but while I was thinking this may be a little reductive. I don't want to say this just because you might think just because of his ethnicity I'm saying this. You know who would have killed it in that role? This little role as the FBI agent coming in and just doing a couple lines and going out. You know who would have killed it, but unfortunately isn't it in this one?
Theodore Wilson.
Oh, well, Theodore Wilson would kill it in anything.
Yeah, okay.
Not who I was thinking of. Somebody else, Leonard Lightfoot.
Yeah.
Leonard Lightfoot would have been great for that, and it's a shame, no offense to this fine performer. I think his name was like Renee something.
Yeah.
I saw it in the credits. I'm like, must have been the only guy that spoke, other than the main cast. Yeah. But yes, it would have been a good chance for Leonard Lightfoot. That said, I'm complaining about things that weren't in the episode, no computer, no Leonard Lightfoot.
Yeah.
But this is a pretty good episode of the show.
I thought so, yeah.
It worked, well. I mean, some ridiculous elements. Henry clowning in a good way, stooging for everybody else.
Yeah.
Like you said, Monroe not being totally insufferable or idiotic. Monroe was actually pretty sensible in this.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is pretty well done, I think.
I think so. And those couple surprises were excellent surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And everybody sort of was involved in it. I mean, one thing, because you sort of mentioned that, not about this episode in particular, but I think one thing we both noticed maybe is that they have a tendency to spend way too much time setting up the premises of episodes, and then they don't have enough time for the actual, for the premise.
Right.
The obvious example is the episode Shipmates, which we both think is pretty decent, and is a more serious episode where Henry meets not even an old Navy buddy, but his old commanding officer who was a real heel, which was probably his job, and then feels bad for him and invites him over for dinner and discovers that he's gay and has a partner that he's been with for 25 years.
Carol.
Yes,
and
Carol.
It turns out Carol is a guy.
Yeah.
That they find out when he opens the door and they have to walk in.
Yeah, and that is one where they have, because you mentioned this on Facebook, a private conversation in the kitchen about this. And Henry definitely has some old-fashioned ideas about those things, but then he comes around. I mean, so Carol dies, and it's pretty well done, but it's kind of rushed. Yeah. No pun intended.
Yes.
They could have used a little more time.
Right. Yeah. A classic case of compression, like in a 20-some minute sitcom. And they try here and there. Like one example is, I think, if I remember correctly, Henry sees him again after the dinner, and he says something like, "Where have you been? I've been trying to get a hold of you for like 3." So making it so it's not like the next day or something like that.
Right.
And I think when he comes in the door at their house, I think he says something like, I just couldn't explain it to you, like to sort of alleviate the fact that, like...
And he did. He was trying to beg off.
Right. Yeah, that's right. He explained it. So they put some things in, but you're right. It's like... Right. It was a surprisingly sensitive portrayal of a topic, especially for this show. Yes. That they could have gone one way and they went another, more low-key. And they don't say AIDS or anything in the...
No, and I don't know if it is. I mean, I think maybe it's standing in for that, but they've been together for so long. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it could be something else, but
they don't say either one way or the other. They don't say what it is. Yeah, but they do when he shows up at the house. He's like he has to leave early because he's not feeling just not normally, just doesn't have full energy.
And I would say like Henry's attitudes they're not like full on like hateful homophobia. He's just
right. He doesn't take any.
He accepts that gay people exist, and he just doesn't want. Like he's like, I wouldn't want my my son to come home one day with a man. Right. Things like that.
And he doesn't take the idea of their relationship seriously at first.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, they're just a couple of gays living together.
Right. And it's the kind of thing where he like goes from like so cavalier about it to, just very quickly in that turn. They could have used a little bit more of that too. But.
Yeah. I don't think they did a lot of serious episodes from what I could tell. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of weird, a little unfortunately weird that episodes from 40 years ago are still relevant today. Mm. I mean, that seems relevant today. The one about immigration. Not a great episode.
Right. When they hire like a maid.
Yeah, but he does. She's from a country that's at war, and even he's like, that's great. You can't come here to escape a war, and the kind of typical things people say. This country's built on immigrants, all of that. And
that's a staple of the 80s that isn't around anymore. Yeah. That plot line of the
green card
scam.
Yeah,
which is basically committing fraud.
Right.
Defrauding the government to that was very common. Yeah. Well, I don't think the action was common, but the plot line was common.
I mean, there was a whole sitcom.
Yes,
he's done it.
That's right.
Maybe that's where they got the idea from this episode. Yeah, but just a weird part of it.
Mm-hmm. Like for the most part, though, it's not really like that at all. It's more like just zany things between Henry and Monroe usually, and problems. I mean, even like the misunderstandings kind of go by the wayside. I think after the first couple seasons, it's just Monroe doing things that aggravate Henry. Yeah, and they every now and then get into his job as a cartoonist, and there's a few interesting things with that. But like I saw one episode where he has to, because of a Monroe-related mishap, he injures his arm. He like breaks his arm and has to hire a cartoonist to draw the strip for him.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, and he winds up dating Sarah. Yeah. Okay. And then there was the episode where Sarah's dating a baseball player who it turns out is drug users.
Yeah,
they had a touch of very special there too.
Yes,
and that was another one they resolved in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, Henry just gave him a little pep talk.
Yeah, so
he wasn't the baseball player wasn't making a good argument for himself. No. I mean, he did have a rough upbringing, but then a lot of us, you don't understand the pressure.
Yeah,
Henry says, "Well, squares like us worry about paying the bills." Not
yeah.
And he didn't even really seem to be talking about him being square. He was like, "I'm a rich baseball player. It's tough."
Right. Yeah. So I guess we've mentioned some notable episodes. I don't really have many more notable episodes. I think.
No.
I mean, watch him and Audrey Meadows. Watch one of the Iris episodes, probably especially around the third season or second season when they're really getting into the pregnancy. Yeah, well, she shows up, I guess, right when the baby's born. Yeah, and Andrew. not much of a presence.
No.
On the show.
It's only a baby.
Yeah, it's like they were much more interested in the pregnancy storyline than
Yes.
the raising a young kid story.
Right. And, I mean, I know there's some kid playing him in the 6th season, but I never saw it.
So, I'd say check out an episode or two. Ted Knight is always worth watching and listening to. But other than that, it's a lot of it's going to be your tolerance for what Jim J. Bullock's doing as Monroe. I'll give him credit, because he's doing what they want him to do. But the character wears thin easily for me, but it's not like his presence was wrecking a classic sitcom anyway.
Kind of standard 80s sitcom fare.
I'll say the world needs B-grade sitcoms too.
Yeah.
They can't all be classics.
That's right.
And Too Close for Comfort is 129 episodes though available. So
somebody liked it.
Yes. And one more thing I'll say: our first family computer was a Commodore 64, and we did not do anything with stock manipulation or horse racing. I remember just mostly playing video games on it. Maybe some early word processing.
Video games and homework.
Yeah. Although I think if the homework, maybe I don't remember handing in anything that early that was done on the computer.
I wrote papers definitely in high school on our Apple.
Yeah. The computer was easy to use, but the printer, now that was a different story.
Yeah.
That I think we probably had to ration, the paper and everything and the ink.
Right.
So I don't think I did a lot of homework on it. I mostly was doing early EA sports games or whatever. And wanted to get Tony La Russa baseball or something.
Dr. Jane Larry Bird.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. World games, summer games.
Yep.
And games like that. But not the experience, the early connectedness. I never got into any of that.
Cause an airplane to fly.
No, I don't want. Well, if Leonard Lightfoot's going to show up at my house, I don't want it to be for this. I want it to be, just so we can talk TV and and maybe hand him his genius award.
Right.
Not for reprimanding me for interfering with flight patterns.
No. Okay, that's Too Close for Comfort. If you have different opinions or similar opinions, let us know. Well, I should say this. I don't know if it's intentional. It is for my part. We're both wearing college shirts.
That's right.
You've got your Penn State alma mater. Mm-hmm. I've got D.C. area alumni shirt for the University of Evansville.
Very nice, yes.
So shout out to Charlie in Evansville.
Oh, yes.
Friend of the show.
Right.
So that was a running thing. I guess people sent in sweatshirts and things, and Henry's often wearing college sweatshirts, and very many different schools get represented.
Yeah, tons of them, including some I think I've seen a couple that I still haven't heard of, let alone at the time.
Right.
They had some deep cuts. I think he was it Northeastern? I think he had in this one.
Yeah.
Which I think had a few good, had some basketball talent for a while. That's how I remembered a lot of schools.
Right, yeah.
Or knew of them was how well they, if they were in March Madness, some of these smaller schools, that's how I'd be aware of them.
I know he had Penn State in one I saw.
Well, that's good. He wore, a little bit more, I'm just kind of wearing a hoodie now. He often would have like a classier sweatshirt under, with a collared shirt underneath.
Yes, yeah. And if he didn't have that, he would have a sweater with a collared shirt.
That's right. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, I think each of us doing our little nod to the show with what we're wearing.
Yes.
So we're talking so much about fashion in this episode.
That's right. Always with us.
Of course.
Anyway, drop us an email at battleofthenetworkshows.com or check out our Facebook group. Let us know how you feel.
Yes.
Have you ever lived in your parents' basement?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an annoying friend? Do you have kids who have an annoying friend who's always around?
Yeah.
That might be a more pertinent question.
Be careful with some of these questions now. But any of this stuff. What was your first computer?
Right. Was it connected to to a modem and whatever you could get to through a modem?
Did you enjoy horse racing on the radio in 1984? You turn in every week and listen live to the races.
Got any good stock tips from 1984?
Yeah, I'm not interested now.
No.
I'm interested in playing the market in 1984.
Chrysler. I don't know else. What was doing well then? Everything was, right?
I guess you'd want to get in on Apple, I guess.
Oh, yeah. That would be a good tip. Just ride it out.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you again soon.
This episode brought to you by the all-new Cosmic Cow. More cosmic, more cow, more moo. This episode also brought to you by 1980s Computers, the all-in-one solution for doing simple math, storing recipes, and playing games. This episode also brought to you by College Sweatshirts. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network Shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BATNet Shows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network Shows.